Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our film course. This is FA255, Understanding Movies, the American Cinema. And tonight this is our orientation session, and so what it is simply a lot of stuff about what you have to do and all of that sort of thing. So let's just go ahead and get started. First, you want to know who I am. And my name is Lucanio. My office is still in the old building, even though Media Arts has moved. I'm still in the old place. It's room 210, and there's my number and all of that. My office hours are 9:30 to 10:30 on Tuesdays, so I'll be in my office tomorrow. And if you can't make that, we can find a mutual time, I'm sure. I have two email addresses for you. I check those throughout the day. So part of what I'm emphasizing here is you really don't need to call me because I'm only on campus one day a week, and if you leave a message, I'll probably get it at some odd time and try to call you back, and you won't be home, and so that's the way it goes. The best way to get in touch with me is through email. Two email addresses are there, and as I said, I check them throughout the day. Okay, moving on, a little bit about who I am. Why am I doing this? What do I know about movies? Well, I've spent a long time teaching film studies. My specialty is really old films. My specialty is 1940s, 1950s film. I've written a few books on it. I was in a documentary film. I was a talking head called Monsters from the Id. It did very well in Norway. That was about the only place it did well. And also, I study all this stuff. The latest thing that I wrote was for a book called 1950s Rocket Man TV series and their fans. I wrote an essay for that book, and of course, everybody should buy that book. It's about $100. I don't get any of it. And also, I edit a magazine for a society with regard to old-time radio drama. It is called Radiogram. I've been doing that for almost 25 years. And it covers, I'm an interesting sort of fellow. I'm visually oriented. I've studied film, really got excited about film, looking at silent movies, and which is visual storytelling. But also, I am crazy about old-time drama, the kinds of things that you can do through the oral medium. And you might have figured that out by now, that if that's my favorite thing, I'm also part of the Radio Redux Repertory Theater in town. We reproduce old-time radio shows. I give a lecture before the program. And that's what it is. And as a plug, we have one coming up, Stage Door, based on the film and the Broadway show, will be presented in February at the Soaring Theater at the Holt Center. My presentation is free, so if you don't have anything else to do before the show, you can come by and hear me there. Okay, that's enough of that stuff. Now, don't call me. I'm going to emphasize that again. If you need to get in touch with me, do not call, send an email. Again, I look at that email, both of those throughout the day, and I will be able to get to you very quickly. So please listen to me. You will use email. You will use email. You will use email. Thank you. The book, yes. There is a textbook for this course. It is called American Cinema, American Culture. Okay. It doesn't matter which edition you have of the book. So if you can find a used copy of the first edition, you're probably in better shape than someone who has the 5th edition. The reason for that is because the book was actually written to go with those video presentations. So it is kind of a supplement to the video presentations. Those video presentations have not changed since they were produced, which is probably about 20 years ago, okay? So the first edition is really accurate with regard to what is in the videos. Why do we have the 5th edition or all of the additional ones? Is because the writer, the scholar, John Belton, who wrote the book, has updated the examples. So even though 20 years ago, they give you the example, you know, say this is what this genre works, how this works, and we give you this example of the film, Belton's newer editions will bring newer films into it. That's the only difference. The ideas, the subject matter that the videos talk about, those kinds of things, they're all the same. They don't change. So again, with regard to the textbook, it doesn't matter which edition you have. So I always tell you, my students, I tell you and urge you to go out and find the cheapest edition you can get. So if you can find one online for 2 bits, buy it, because it's going to work for you. Okay, moving on. What is this course all about? Okay, this course is an introductory course that brings Hollywood filmmaking into clear focus as an art form. I don't have to tell you that. You already know that because you're college students. So right away, you look at it and say it's an art form. It's also an economic force. What I tell all of my students, no matter what film course I am teaching, what I tell them is, with regard to Hollywood filmmaking, it is an economic force first. It is a moneymaker. It is a business. They don't give a rip about art. They'll tell you that they do, but they don't. They make films according to formula, according to what is going to generate a lot of money. Does that mean that a film cannot be an artistic endeavor? No. Lots of things have commercial appeal that turn out to have a lot of aesthetic value. So yes, we can look at films. We can look at them and say there's a lot of value here, a lot of art, a lot of things that we can talk about, a lot of things that resonate from within that film that tell us something about who and what we are as human beings. So yes, we can see that, and it might, at the same time, make bazillions of dollars for the producers. On the other hand, it could also be a big, fat flop that makes 2 bits, and yet it turns out to be one of the most powerful aesthetic objects that we've ever seen. So, you know, like if you stop and you look at the record, the most famous artistic film, American film of all time, which most of the critics, most of the reviewers always refer to, is Citizen Kane. When you look at how much money it made, it was a big, fat flop. It made nothing. Nobody went to it. It stunk with regard to money making. And yet, here it is today. We look at it and say, my gosh, what a work of art. And it is also a system of representation and communication. In other words, it is representing who and what we are as a society. It represents us. It represents ideas. It represents all of our values. It does that sort of a thing in a film. And it also is a method of communication. It communicates those values to us. There's a lot of communication in it today. A lot of it is communicating things, which, you know, I'm not going to steal their thunder. I'll let them talk about it. But anyway, that's part of what we're looking at. Also, the American cinema probes the deeper meanings of American movies with regard to what they call the hidden message of genres. That's their term, not mine. What you find in a Western. What is the message that is really being uttered to you in a Western? The social and psychological effects of style. How does that affect us? The style, the stylistic things of a movie. What does a long take, how does that affect us psychologically? If you have a long take in which you just simply turn the camera on and allow people to move and do things within that frame without any interference from the filmmaker. Or the other hand is, how does that affect us psychologically if you've got a camera that never stops moving? You know, the camera just absolutely continues to move this way, that way, and all sorts of things. and the mutual influence of society and popular culture. The idea, it's been around forever, and that's a simple, that simple question is, you know, let's take, for example, violence. Does all the violence and all that kind of stuff in a movie, does that make you violent people? Or is it simply, we're just reflecting who you are? You know, back and forth. And so lots of people are saying, we got to cut out all this violence because it turned people into criminals. Filmmakers are saying, oh, no, we're just reflecting who all you people are. Okay, the correct answer to that question is it's both. We do know that it does affect you, and that it does, that is, there is an attempt to alter how you think and what you do. That's part of that communication. If you don't think that works, think about all the money, the bazillions of dollars that are spent on TV commercials that are doing exactly that are trying to convince you to go out and buy this product. And it seems to work. Okay, here's how the schedule works then. Each week, a 60-minute lesson. It's going to be broadcast on Comcast there. Each program is cablecast 5 times throughout the week. But as I mentioned earlier, before we went on the air, you can see it online at the Annenberg site, and the link to it is found on Moodle. The link to it's found in the syllabus. So anyway, with that regard, what it means is you don't need to watch it off of the cable system. You can watch it at any time you want if you have a computer with a high-speed internet connection. Okay, the next time I will talk to you here will be on February 5th, and that will be for the midterm review. Then you will take a midterm, February 8th through February 15th, and I give you 1 week to take it, because it will be in the testing center. A little more about that later. And then I will see you one more time in this room on March 12th for the final review. And then the final exam will be March 15th through March 22nd. Again, you will have 1 week to do it. Which means, so what do I do? Okay, what do you do is, first of all, you watch the video programs. That's your lecture, as it were. If you're going to get anything, you know, like stuff that you need to take the exam, you're going to get them off of those video programs. Again, there's that emphasizing the Annenberg site where you can watch those anytime you wish. And you read appropriate sections of the text. Those chapters that are appropriate to the videos are found in the syllabus. Now, the question is, okay, well, a lot of people will ask this question, and that is, you know, I've got the most recent edition, and there's different chapter titles. I don't, you know, the title, the numbers don't correspond with what you've listed in the syllabus. All I can tell you is look at the subject matter. Look at the subject matter of each video, and then look at those chapter titles, and it should make sense to you then. So it may be in the 2nd or 3rd edition, whatever it is in the syllabus, which I said is chapter 12. It might be chapter 13 or chapter 8 or something like that in a different edition. So that's the only way you can really be able to bring it all together with all these various editions of the book. So anyway, all right. Take notes if you have to. If you're a genius with a photographic memory or whatever, you don't need to take notes, and don't do it. But if things get piled up in your mind like that and you got to organize them, start taking notes, what you see and what you read. The requirements are simply, number 1, this week. This is a college requirement, not mine. This is the college requires that you check in, because this is a telecourse. I don't see you people in a classroom, so I can't really give you an assignment. But what I do give you for this course, so that it's kind of, it's the Moodle check-in, and it's not just an empty thing, because I do read these, and last quarter, I really got an eyeful from my students. I really got a lot of information from them, because as you will see on there, what it involves is simply, I want you to tell me, you know, what's my favorite movie? Or what's my favorite genre, or whatever. And you just put it in Moodle, and I get it and read it, but it also, once you do it, I check that off and say, okay, yes, indeed, you are enrolled in this course, and I won't drop you. Because if I don't hear from you by the end of this week, I just automatically drop you. So anyway, it's not just kind of a busy work. It is a work that I really do get something out of, and that was especially true last quarter. Last quarter, these students wrote a lot of good stuff, and I was mightily impressed. So I'm sure you're no different, so I will also get mightily impressed with what you have to say. The next thing is you're only required, after that, you're required to take 2 exams. You're required to take the midterm and the final. What else can I say? That's pretty much it. You don't have to write any weekly papers. You don't have to check in kind of stuff on a weekly basis. Simply, you're on your own, buddy. That's what I can say. You're on your own to study all of this kind of stuff and then come back halfway through the term and then show me, yeah, I've been doing this, and yeah, I love this class, and yeah, I really like movies, and I can show you I can get an A on that exam because this is great. Okay, and then when you're done with that, you come back for the final and you do the same thing. And that's pretty much it. The exams will be 50 questions. So in total, with the midterm and the final, there are 100 questions involved with the cinema. And I'm remembering, there is one question in there that I left in this time. There's this one question that I'm tempted to just ignore it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I'll probably tell you during the midterm or the final of whichever it was. And I just messed up the title of the movie, but it's the only answer that makes any sense to anybody. But that blasted Moodle, I have gone into that. Every time I have done this, I go in there and I change it, right? And then it comes out and it's with the wrong, anyway, I'm just bellyaching about Moodle. And if you haven't figured this out, I don't like it. All right, the tests are over in the instructional testing services building in room 311. They do require a lot of stuff, but it is a computerized test. You have to bring your photo ID and your L number. And always check their website. Don't call them. It's easier just to check their website to know their hours of operation so that you can get there in time to take the test. And remember, I give you an entire week to do it. So, which means everybody waits till the last minute. And so they want you to turn off all cell phones and all electronics and place them in backpacks or check them with the staff. I have to say this because a lot of people don't do that and they find themselves kicked out of the place. And all belongings, including backpacks, hats, and coats, will be placed inside provided cubicles. They do have these rules. And so just follow the rules and take the test and go home. All right. 3x5 cards are allowed. Only one, though. If I were involved in this, if I had a magic way of doing this, but I have so many students, I have like 50 students and 60. I used to have, 80 students in this class. But if I were doing this, I'd let you use all the notes and all the book to answer. But they have to police that place over there in the testing center. And they allow you to have one 3x5 card, okay? What I always tell people is simply that the stuff you know, don't sweat it. The stuff that you find out in the videos, the stuff you go, wow, I know that, and I've known that forever. Don't worry about that. It's those things that they'll mention, and you might go, I'm not sure what that means, such as aspect ratio, which comes later. What does that mean, 2.35 to 1? With CinemaScope. What do they mean by flat? What do they mean by this? And what's all this TV stuff? 16:9 and all of that. If it's confusing, use that on your note card. Put down the stuff that is the stuff you're not sure of. Okay, you are responsible for your exam, not me. So get there. You have a week to do it. So just get there, take the test, and go home. Okay, on Moodle, just about midterm, close to the midterm, probably the week before or the week of the midterm review, I will post on Moodle a study guide for you. So you can download that and you can go through it and you can have a good idea what's going to be on the test. And it's a good idea. You look at that and then you go, I don't know a thing on this, and then you can leave town, all right? Or you can look at it and you just go, yeah, this is, I know all this stuff. Man, this is going to be a cinch. With most people, it's going to be, gosh, I know a lot of this stuff, but I don't know what's meant by that. That's when you come and see me, and I can help you with that. All right, extra credit, yes. I do allow extra credit because I allow you to show me what you can do. That's basically what extra credit is all about. It's not a requirement. Again, like I said, I have so many students that I just wouldn't have enough time to give it a thorough reading or whatever. But if you want to demonstrate your knowledge of film, you have two options here. The first one is a paper on the production elements of a single sequence of any film produced before 1970. Produced before you were born. And the reason for that is because that's going to force you to look at a movie that you otherwise wouldn't be looking at. It forces you to apply your knowledge to something that you don't want to look at. I could be really brutal, and I could say it has to be in black and white. But I let you just choose anything that has been made before 1970. And it is explained in the syllabus about the production elements, the parts of that, when it gets in detail in there. Or, if so inclined, produce your own narrative or documentary production. So if you're in the filmmaking program, then go ahead and you say and show me what you can do, because I love seeing that. I don't have too many students who do that. The ones who have produced some very interesting stuff, and it works to your advantage. How does the extra credit then work to your advantage with regard to a grade? I consider it for you insurance. Let's say for whatever reason you just louse up the midterm. For whatever reason, it could be anything. It could be you're just simply lazy, or it could be I had a bad day or whatever and it just didn't come out. Produce the extra credit. Turn the extra credit in, and the grade that you get on extra credit is the grade that you would get at midterm. So let us say you got a D- on the midterm. You got an A on your extra credit. The midterm grade that you have is an A because it just replaces the grade that you had there. So that's why I say it's an insurance policy. All right, moving on. The details about all of this stuff are in the deluxe syllabus, and it is available on Moodle, so you can download it from there. The people who came tonight, there's one over there, get you one on the way out. And then read the syllabus. Make sure and read everything in there because it is very detailed. So if you're confused, bewildered, rattled, depressed, and desperate like I am, then stop by during office hours or send me an email and I'll try to help you to relax. So the program schedule works this way. And again, I think you're going to like it. The first thing is all called the classic Hollywood style. And what that is it sets forward for us what Hollywood has been based on for about 50 years. And it's all about a method of filmmaking, and it's a viewpoint. It is a way of looking at the world and how Hollywood made it, how Hollywood evolved along that way. And the bottom line is visual storytelling. That's how it begins, visually, and then someone adds sound to it. And then what do you do with sound? And you get some very creative people that continue to tell visual stories that get augmented by sound. Okay, the studio system, which is the industry, as they used to call it. It is, these are film factories in which that's all they do, is they get a lot of money, produce these films, send them out to theaters, and hope they get lots of money back. And one of the ingredients that you discover, one of the ingredients here that helps to get a return on that investment is the star. People going to movies in the silent era, there were no stars, there was nothing. They just were watching stories being told. But the audiences kept coming and saying, I like this person in these films. This one guy continues to do all of this daring do. He jumps off buildings, you know, does all this kind of stuff. And so next thing is, we want more pictures with this guy. Who is this guy? Douglas Fairbanks. And they say, yeah, give me more. All right. Then we go into the genre and we talk about the Western, very much an American genre. It was the lifeblood of the movie industry for just about 60 years, maybe a little longer, but it was the lifeblood. If you wanted to make money, if you lost money on an art film, make a Western, you'll get it all back. The romantic comedy, what we also refer to as the screwball comedy. And then it moves over to the combat film. Everybody else on the planet calls it a war film. But they talk about what that's all about, making movies, especially they start making war movies in silent era with World War I. But the big thing comes with World War II. And then they move to everybody's favorite genre, film noir. The sort of a gangster or sort of the dark world of the city with a femme fatale. This is where women really assert themselves. This is kind of a post-war genre that develops. And then we look at film in the television age. What are they going to do with this new thing called TV? And the first thing they did was just change the size of the screen. If you're watching TV on a dinky little screen, it was about this big and it was round, it looked like a porthole, they would give you widescreen and stereophonic sound. So technology was that was the change. That was their way of competing with television. And also, as the 50s progressed, their way of competing with television was to be just a little naughty. You still couldn't get away with much in the 50s. There's still censorship there, but it was a little naughty. And the film school generation, this is the stuff that comes out in the late 60s. This is where you actually go to college to learn how to make films. Up to that point, very few of the filmmakers ever set foot in college. If they did, they were in there for dramatic works, directing stages, or writing. But you didn't go to school to learn how to make films. You learned how to make films by making films. And then The Edge of Hollywood. Again, it's about 20 years old, but it's kind of prophetic. What is it going to be like? I mean, you look at it today, what is it? Big article the other day in the paper about it. You know, theaters are kind of dying. And what you have is all this Netflix and Amazon and all of these things replacing them. It's a whole different world. So anyway, that's it. There's the two addresses, email. Make sure and get in there and take the exam. And that's it. The end. Thank you, folks. Bye.